Spencer Thomason, and here at StartupHakk, we love to train software developers and build custom software solutions. So I do a lot of work as a fractional CTO. With over a decade of executive leadership and a solid 25 years in software development, I've mastered the art of transforming teams and products for technology. Let's dive in this morning. It's a Friday morning, and so I definitely think we want to start with a little lightheartedness. Obviously, as everyone's grinding away the last day before the weekend. Hopefully everybody gets some good rest this weekend or get a hack on their side projects this weekend. But let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to talk about 20 funny things that programmers say when their code doesn't work. I saw this one out on the internet the other day, and I thought this would be a great one to go through for some of our developers so they don't feel alone. And it'll be funny because you'll catch yourself saying a lot of these. But let's dive into them. Okay, so 20 funny things that developers say when their code doesn't work. The funny thing about these is, as I started to read, as I prepared my notes on these, and I'm going to go ahead and share my notes on this. Let's kind of talk about these here. Give me 1 second here to get my screens all arranged, and voila. Okay, so we're going to talk about 20 funny replies that developers give when their code doesn't work. Okay, switch our screens here. All right, so 20 funny things. So number 20, the classic excuse, right? Let's kick things off. I'm going to bounce around on these because I'm going to keep you on your toes because it's Friday morning. I don't want anybody going to sleep. We still got a day to grind in here. So number one, the classic excuse, works on my machine. We're going to kick this off with a good old classic. It works on my machine. So I'm just going to say this, especially as a manager of developers, this is the ultimate cop-out. If you're using this one and you're a developer, you've probably said this more times than you care to admit. It's a perfect way to shift blame because, of course, if it works on your machine, then it's something wrong with the environment, right? But that's exactly it. If it works on your machine and it's not working somewhere else, then great. That's a good tip, and it doesn't work on that environment. Figure out either what's broken in the code or what's broken in the environment, but one of the two definitely need to get fixed. So definitely don't use that as a way to just kind of get out of things. Next one, the unexpected twist. Well, that's weird, right? The top one on the list here. It's usually said right before a programmer's world comes crashing down, right? That's weird. Boom. It's the moment when you realize something is wrong, but you have absolutely no idea why. If you look at your code and you decide you have a mindset of its own, all you can do is stare at the screen, disbelief, and be like, I'm kind of dumbfounded. And then I'll probably finish these off with the stages of a mug that my daughter bought me over here. Next one is the denial. Well, it's never done that before, right? That second one there. This one's all about denial. Problem can't possibly be with their code. It must be the universe, right? The universe is against them. The stars didn't align. Maybe Mercury is in retrograde. Who knows? But the code, of course, is flawless until it's not, right? I can't tell you how many times I've heard, oh, it's never done that before. And I'll be like, well, maybe you never tested that scenario before. Have you tested that scenario? The developer goes back to their dev machine. They put, oh, yeah, I never tested that one, right? Now, as with everything, we provide hundreds of different free code samples. So make sure you go back on our channel, like and subscribe, follow these. Go grab our programming samples. There's hundreds of them out there and hundreds of videos to go with them. I've put over 1,000 videos into this channel, so lots of good material. If you're new to the channel, grab that and go get it. So make sure you grab those free code samples. The next one we're going to talk about is the time traveler. Well, it worked yesterday, right? Like I've heard that one before. So let's go travel back in time and see if we can figure that out, right? The magical land of yesterday where everything was perfect. Today, not so much, right? This is when you realize that something must have changed, but what? Time to start unraveling the mystery, and maybe it's literally that you just rebooted a computer, right? And so the it worked yesterday is one that I've definitely heard before. The philosopher. How is that possible? And this gets into the different stages of denial of a developer, right? So I think we'll introduce that really quick here. 6 stages of debugging, right? Well, we'll probably end up with every one of these. Stage number 1, well, that can't happen. Number 2, that doesn't happen on my machine. Step number 3, that shouldn't happen. Step 4, wait, why does that happen? Number 5, oh, I see. And then the big universal one of step 6, Wait, how did that ever work? I have said that more times than I care to admit, where you're just like, wait, I don't understand how that ever worked. Once you find the bug and you're like, what? Anyways, I mean, of course, sometimes you just find the smoking gun. But, so that goes to this, how is that possible, right? That's our stage number, that shouldn't happen, right? That's stage number 3. How is that even possible? All right, the hardware scapegoat. This is a classic move to blame the hardware. It must be a hardware problem, right? Oh, it must be some bad RAM on the server. Luckily, I think as we're getting into cloud computing, we're seeing less and less blame on the hardware. But it's a convenient excuse. I have heard it, especially when you're out of ideas. Maybe the CPU is just having a bad day. It's got to be that, right? All right, the blame game. You can't forget. Well, what did you type wrong to get it to crash, right? It's got to be something about the user and how they used the application wrong. So this one's about shifting the blame to the user. So because surely, of course, your code's perfect, right? So it's the input that's the problem. Well, they must have put bad data in, right? Or there must have been a bad field in one of the database, or that dang other team, like it's their data, it's always bad, right? So harden your data, harden your code. There has to be some, so the next one is the data dilemma, right? That's the one I just kind of poked at, right? There has to be something funky in your data. There must be something funky in the data. When all else fails, blame the data. It's the perfect scapegoat, especially when you're completely stumped. Maybe the data just didn't want to cooperate that day. All right, next one, the distant memory. I haven't touched that module in weeks, right? And so then usually you're trying to find out what fringe part did. You go back to your last commit. So this is a programmer's way of saying, don't look at me. It's an attempt to distance oneself from the problem, even if it's glaringly obvious that something has gone horribly wrong. Wrong version. Well, you must have the wrong version, right? You must put the wrong version into prod, or the server must be grabbing the wrong version, right? This was one that definitely was bad in the old DLL hell days of .NET, when it would grab and you'd have to be unwinding what DLL the machine was using, right? And so the wrong version is kind of an interesting one. Clearly, it's not the code that's broken. It's just that someone somewhere in the universe used the wrong version, right? So problem solved, because everybody just needs to use the latest version. Next one, the coincidence. Well, that's just an unlucky coincidence. So we can, when all else fails, blame it on just bad luck. Maybe the code just doesn't like Mondays or Fridays. Hopefully your code doesn't like isn't not. That's a good double negative. Hopefully your code likes Fridays, because the last thing people want to be doing at Friday at 4 p.m. is debugging some bug that's happening in prod. The tester's lament. I can't test everything, right? And I've seen this, and this is actually a pretty fair thing on most testers, right? I hear a lot of people, well, man, the tester should have caught that. So this one kind of goes both ways, right? The developer's like, well, I can't test everything. What else? What is a tester for, right? The developer blames the tester. Tester's like, look, I can't do everything. You've got to be able to test these edge cases. You've got to be able to code against these edge cases. So there's one for the testers out there, but it's not also just for the testers. This is there's only so much you can do in testing every single scenario. So that's what users are for, right? Nothing like testing in prod. All right, the impossible. This cannot be the source of that, right? Sometimes a root problem seems so ridiculous that you have to refuse to believe it. And I think that's one of those stages of debugging denial that I talked about, right? So this is where you start doubting your sanity. How could something so small cause such a big mess? So this is the impossible scenario. Next, the disclaimer. It works, but it hasn't been tested. This is the ultimate disclaimer, because of course the code works in theory, but until it's tested, who knows what could go wrong. All right, the code bandit. Somebody must have changed my code, right? That's another really funny one. The mysterious code bandit, its only logical explanation: someone sneaked in and changed your code while you weren't looking. How dare they? I've also heard this one kind of as, you merge into a larger branch of things. And so this is the reason why, testing at every environment and every level of the code commit is really important. The virus theory. Did you check for a virus on your system? I've actually heard this, right? Along with the, did you reboot it, right? When all else fails, blame it on the virus, blame it on it hasn't reboot, blame that it needs an update. So it's easy out when you have no idea what's your motive or the product manager's motive for designing it that way. Where were you when the program blew up, right? And I think they might mean where were you in the app, right? And this actually can come with, and it's kind of a good final deflection because a lot of times we're like, hey, here's this bug. And to be fair, one of the most important things that a tester can do is give reproduction steps, right? So if you're reporting a bug and you're out there and you're reporting a bug, please, 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 please give reproduction steps, because that's kind of that one that I think they're being a little tongue-in-cheek, but reality of speaking is if you're going to report a bug, it's super helpful to give reproduction steps. I cannot tell you that as a developer, there's one of the most annoying things is when you get this bug report and you have absolutely no idea how to reproduce it, because the first thing you want to do is bring it back to your system and, if at all possible, reproduce the bug. So on your Friday, don't forget the 6 stages of debugging, right? That can't happen. Oh, wait, that doesn't happen on my machine. Wait, that shouldn't happen. Wait, why does that happen? Oh, I see. Well, wait, how did that ever work, right? So 6 stages of denial and debugging. What are some of your favorites? Did I forget them? I'm sure you guys have some great ones. Throw them at me. Number one compliment I can get for these videos is to get comments. I love getting comments, even if I disagree with you. Got a comment this morning that I just started off with, hey, I respectfully disagree. And that's cool. Like we live in a great world where the internet's open and people can disagree. So I love being able to disagree. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Love having a discussion. Make sure you leave a comment, like, and subscribe. Here at StartupHakk, we'd love to train software developers with our coding boot camps and to provide you a lot of free custom, coding projects. So make sure you download all those projects. Also, make sure you go back to the previous videos because we give you tons of videos with those free code samples. We also love to build custom software solutions. So if your company is in need of a team or even just a single project, hit us up. We definitely love to build custom software solutions for folks. And otherwise, have a great Friday and a great weekend, and we'll catch you guys next time. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel because we bring you lots of great tutorials and tips that every developer should know. See you next time.